Hi students, today we will study about neural control and coordination part 2. So, neural control consists of brain and spinal cord, and mainly brain is the most important component of nervous system or neural control. Now, reflex action. What is reflex action? The reflex action is the simplest kind of activity which can be defined as an integrated activity occurring involuntarily in response to a stimulus applied to a receptor. Actually, a reflex action, also known as reflex, is an involuntary and nearly instantaneous movement in response to a stimulus. Like someone throws a hand in front of your face and you put your hands up to block it. This is reflex action. Or if you touch something hot and you take your hand off it very quickly, it's also reflex action. And more examples like a bright light suddenly shines in your eyes and you close them quickly, or a car cuts you off and you apply the brakes automatically. These all are the reflex action, and this is related with the brain and spinal cord. Let's see. A boy is playing with a ball and suddenly touches the hot cooker. See. So quickly he takes off his hand from the cooker. So this is the example of reflex action. Now, reflex arc. What is reflex arc? Actually, reflex arc is the pathway taken by nerve impulses generated at the receptor due to stimulus to reach the effector organ during a reflex action. So it has the following components. First one is receptor organ. Receptor organ is a tissue, organ or cell which receives an external or internal stimulus, for example skin, eye, ear. Next, an afferent neuron. They take the sensory impulse generated by the receptor to the central nervous system through dorsal or posterior route in spinal nerve. Next, synapse involving some cells in the central nervous system. It can be spinal cord or brain or ganglion. Next comes an afferent neuron. They carry the motor impulse generated in the central nervous system to the specific effectors. In case of spinal cord, the motor nerve fibers pass through anterior or ventral route. And next comes an effector organ. It may be organ or muscle or gland which, on being activated by a motor impulse, produces work or substance to suitably deal with the stimulus. So reflex action and reflex arc can be studied in a case of a freshly decapitated frog. A pin prick or drop of acid on the leg causes a leg to be withdrawn, wiping with the help of other leg or even jumping. So these are the components of reflex arc. Next comes parts of the nervous system. For example, if you smell something burning, so your nose is receptor that detects the stimulus that comes from external environment, and nerve fibers send the message to the brain. So here is the control of the body activity through nerve fibers, and your brain then sends a message to move your body away or put out the fire. So receptor, nerve fibers and brain, these are the main component or main parts of the nervous system. It also includes spinal cord. Now, neurons. What are neurons? You have already studied in previous chapter. Neurons are capable of carrying message in one direction. So there are three types of neuron. First of all, sensory neuron. These carries impulses from the receptor to the spinal cord. Actually, sensory neurons are typically classified as the neurons responsible for converting external stimuli from the environment into the internal stimuli. They are activated by sensory input like vision, touch, hearing, etc., and send projections into central nervous system that convey sensory information to the brain or spinal cord. Actually, sensory neurons are activated by physical modulators such as light, sound, and temperature. Next come relay neuron. What is relay neuron? Relay neurons or interneurons. Relay neurons relay information from sensory neurons to motor neurons bypassing the brain. Actually, they bypass the brain. So think about touching a blazing hot stove. If the signal went all the way to your brain and back your hand your hand would be much more damaged than the instant jerk away from the stove that normally happens. So relay neuron carries impulses to and from the spinal cord and brain. Next come motor neuron. Motor neurons are also called efferent neurons. It means they carry information from the brain to the target. So these are the three types of neurons. Next come reflex arc. As I have previously told you that a reflex arc is a neural pathway that controls an action reflex when your body needs to react to something very quickly. So it uses a reflex arc. Actually, in higher animals, most sensory neurons do not pass directly into the brain but synapse in the spinal cord. This characteristic allows reflex actions to occur relatively quickly by activating spinal motor neurons without the delay of routing signals through the brain. Although the brain will receive sensory input while the reflex action occurs. So this is reflex arc. You can see in this path, instead of sending impulses from the receptor, you are seeing in this picture that here what is happening, impulses are gone from the receptor to the spinal cord, then to brain, and from spinal cord to the effector. But in reflex arc, actually what happens, impulses from the receptor goes to spinal cord. From spinal cord they goes to effector, that is they bypasses brain, so that quickly response happens. So this is a pathway of reflex arc. Now you can see a diagrammatic representation of the pathway of reflex action. See, there is a pinprick and the external stimuli with the help of sensory neuron passes to the brain. Actually, sensory neurons are nerves which contain only afferent or sensory nerve fibers that bring impulses from different body parts including the sense organs to the central nervous system. And this is the effector muscle. What are effector muscles? Effector muscles produces work or substance. Actually, effector muscles are muscles which on being activated by a motor impulse produces work or substance to suitably deal with the stimulus. So this is a diagrammatic representation of reflex action through reflex arc, and this is the pathway of reflex action, and we are calling it reflex arc. Next come pathway of reflex arc. First of all, what happens? Receptor or sensory cell that receives external stimulus, they take the stimulus to the afferent or sensory neuron. Sensory neuron take it to the dorsal root of spinal cord, and they take it to the connecting or association interneuron or relay neuron. From relay neuron they take it to the afferent or motor neuron, and from motor neuron ventral root of spinal cord, and from ventral root of spinal cord ultimately they went to the effector organ, that is muscle or gland, where the reflex action is happening. So this is the pathway of reflex arc. Next comes characteristics of reflexes. Reflex actions have many characteristics like predictability. What is predictability? To predict something, that is once the response of an organ to a specific stimulus is observed, it can be predicted that the same stimulus will always elicit the same response. Next, purposefulness. Generally, all reflex actions are useful to the organism and are performed with a definite purpose. Next, localization. In performing a reflex action, a specific effect is involved in response to the stimulus applied to a specific receptor. Next comes delay. Reflex action is the interval between the application of the stimulus to a receptor and the beginning of a response by an effector organ. A synaptic delay occurs due to latent period and reflex time at the synapse. This depends upon the number of synapses in the nerve pathway. Next comes unlearned. In order to activate spinal effector mechanism, no experience is needed to bring them in operation. That is unlearned. Next comes adjustive and protective. Reflexes serve adjustive and protective purposes and become an important part of the animal behavior. So these are the main characteristics of the reflexes. Classification of reflexes. First one is polysynaptic reflexes. What is poly means? Many synapses. So it's polysynaptic reflexes. Generally, many small neurons called connecting interneurons or relay neurons located in the grey matter in the central nervous system transfer the reflex impulse from the sensory to the motor neurons. And you already know that sensory neurons are activated by physical modulators like light, sound and temperature, and motor neurons are afferent neurons, means they carry information from the brain to the target. Next is monosynaptic reflexes. Mono means only one synapse. In some reflexes, sensory impulse is directly transferred from sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So only one neuron comes in the path. So we are saying it monosynaptic reflex. It is called monosynaptic. So there are two types of reflexes, polysynaptic and monosynaptic. Next, types of reflex actions. You know very well the different types of reflex actions you do in your daily life. First of all, unconditional reflex actions. What are unconditional reflex actions? The unconditional reflexes are specific, predictable, purposeful and have survival value. They will be the same in all individuals. The stimulus for an unconditioned response is called unconditioned stimulus. Instincts are also inherited or inborn with survival value, but they do not involve nerve reflexes. For example, parental care, courtship. Some examples of unconditioned reflexes are, first of all, eye blinking, like wider opening of pupil in dim light and constriction in strong light. That is blinking of eyes. Or if some insect or dust come in your eye, you automatically close your eyes. So this is eye blinking reflex. Next comes hot plate reflex. When a hot plate is touched unknowingly, that part of the body is immediately withdrawn from it. That is hot plate reflex. Next, knee jerk reflex. Knee jerk reflex is a stress reflex for maintaining posture. Knee jerk reflex, jerking of knee when hit below kneecap. Knee jerk reflex is a stress reflex for maintaining posture. Here, the leg extends due to shock produced in patellar tendon. Next, rubbing reflex. Whenever we feel itching in any part of the body, the affected part is immediately rubbed with fingers unconsciously. Next comes pinching reflex. If somebody pricks a needle or pinches, we automatically move away. This is pinching reflex. And the last is tears flow. You know, sometimes you have also observed in your daily life that when peeling off an onion, tears start flowing from the eyes. And this flowing of tears is completely unconsciously. So this is tears flow reflex. Next is coughing and sneezing reflex. Coughing during swallowing and sneezing when any dust or any particle comes in the path of your nasal. So this is coughing and sneezing reflex. Peristalsis is also a part of unconditioned reflex. Peristalsis during digestion. Now, conditioned reflex action. What is conditioned, or you can also say it acquired reflexes? These are those reflex actions that are not present at birth but develop later in life through learning habit, experience, or regular association of an indifferent stimulus without any effect with unconditioned stimulus. Later on, indifferent stimulus becomes conditioned stimulus. However, conditioned reflexes are liable to change, disappear, or reappear. Actually, conditioned reflexes reduce burden on brain. For example, watering of mouth with ringing of bell without the sight or smell, an example of conditioned reflex. Actually, in 1906, Pavlov found that a dog salivated at the sight of food. He would sound a gong every time the dog was given food. After some days, the dog would salivate on hearing the bell even without food. So this is the absolute example of conditioned reflex action. Another examples are paddling, driving a vehicle, playing musical instrument, writing, reading, knitting without looking, salivation at sight or smell of food. These are the examples of conditioned reflex actions. Now, sense organs. What are sense organs? The stimuli are received by certain structures in the body. Absolutely. So these are called receptors or sense organs. A receptor may be extremely simple, such as those of touch, taste, and smell, or they may be highly complex in their structure as well as working. For example, the sense organs of sight and hearing. So, sense organs is a specialized body structure having specialized cells which can pick up an external or internal stimulus and transmit the same to the central nervous system as nerve impulse. Only brain can perceive sensations. Sense organs are avenues for receiving stimuli. The senses of taste, smell, sight, and hearing are called special senses because their receptors occur in specific organs. The sense of taste, smell, sight, and hearing are called special senses because their receptors occur in specific organs. And the sense of touch or pressure or pain is called general sense as its receptor lies scattered in skin and various body parts. So, a stimulus can be sensed only when its intensity reaches a threshold value. Intense stimulus does not increase impulse amplitude but increase impulse frequency. So, this is about sense organs. Now, classification of sense organs. Sense organs can be classified according to various ways. First of all, according to their position. According to their position, first of all is exterior receptors. Second, proprioceptor, visceral receptor or internal receptor. So, first of all, exterior receptors. Exterior receptor, as the name indicates, receive external stimuli. Exterior receptors receive external stimuli. Second is proprioceptors. These are sensitive to changes in tendons, muscles, and joint movements. Third is visceral receptors or internal receptors. These are sensitive to stimuli coming from internal body organs. So this is a classification of sense organs according to their position. Next, according to the form of stimulus they receive, the sense organs are classified into following types. First of all, mechanoreceptors. Mechanoreceptors, most widespread of sensory receptors. Mechanoreceptors are sensitive to mechanical stimuli like tangoreceptors, tactile or touch receptors that come in contact with stimulus like Mesenger's corpuscles, Merkel's corpus disc, basket nerve ending, and Phoenician corpuscles. Second, phonoreceptors. These are sound receptors. And the examples are organ of corti in internal ear. Next is statoreceptors. Equilibrium receptors as in Christi. So these are equilibrium receptors or balance receptors as in Christi. These include Christi and maculae. Next is algoreceptors. These are pain receptors like free nerve endings. Next, proprioceptor. These are sensitive to internal stimuli like Golgi, Mazzoni organs. Pacinian corpuscles on free nerve endings. Next is rheoreceptors. These are current receptors like lateral line organs in fishes. Next come photoreceptors. These receptors are sensitive to intensity and wavelength of light or image formation. For example, retina in vertebrate eyes, ommatidia in compound eyes of arthropods. Next, chemoreceptors. Chemoreceptors are sensitive to chemicals or their concentration as gustatoreceptors. What are gustatoreceptors? Gustatoreceptors are in taste buds, or olfactoreceptors smell in olfactory epithelium. The examples are taste buds of tongue. Olfactory receptors also are part of chemoreceptors. This is due to smell due to volatile chemicals. And the examples are olfactory epithelium. And last one is thermoreceptors. As the name indicates, these are sensitive to temperature changes like calorireceptors, heat, and photoreceptors, cold. For example, Ruffini's organs in the skin or end bulb of cross in the skin in the low temperature or photoreceptors, and Ruffini's organs in the skin in high temperature or calorireceptors. Now here comes some solved examples. First of all, from AIMS 1998, and the question is, Pacinian corpuscles occur in the skin of certain parts of the body in mammals. These are type of glands, pain receptors, naked tactile receptors, or encapsulated pressure receptors. And the answer is encapsulated pressure receptors. Here is the explanation. Actually, Pacinian corpuscles occur in the skin of certain parts of the body in the mammals. These are encapsulated pressure receptors. Pacinian corpuscles are very rapid adapting pressure receptors in subcutaneous adipose tissue of both hairy and hairless vertebrate skin. They are also found in joint capsules, tendons, etc. Next question from AIMS 1999, and the question is, this is assertion. It is the brain, not the sense organs, that interprets the stimulus. And the reason is, sense organs are transducers. They transform the energy of a stimulus to the energy of a nerve impulse. And your options are, if both assertion and reason are true, and the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion, or if both assertion and reason are true but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. Next, if the assertion is true but the reason is false, or if both assertion and reason are false. What is the right option? The right option is both assertion and reason are true, and the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. Actually, it is a coordinated process by which the stimulus passes to the brain by the way of sense organs or sensory receptors. These receptors are transducers that convert various forms of energy in the environment into action potentials in neurons. The form of energy converted by the receptors include mechanical, thermal, electromagnetic, and chemical energy. Information about the internal and external environment reaches to the sensory receptors, which in turn, getting adequate stimulus, transfers it to the brain through nerve impulses. So, then the brain responds to the stimulus. Next, from AIMS 2008, and the question is, one common example of simple reflex is tying your shoelaces while talking to another person and not looking at them. Okay. Next, watering of mouth at the sight of a favorite food, or climbing up of stairs in dark without stumbling, or closing up of eyes when strong light is flashed across them. So, which of the one is the simplest form of reflex? Hurry up. The right answer is closing up of eyes when strong light is flashed across them. This is an example of simple reflex. Now, answer explanation. Simple or unconditioned reflexes are present in an individual from the birth. They happen to be specific, predictable, purposeful, and have a survival value. For example, breastfeeding and swallowing in newborn babies and blinking of eyes. They are unconditional reflex, while option A, B, and C are the examples of conditional reflexes and are not present from birth but develop later in life due to learning. Next sense organ is organs of sight. And the organs of sight are pair of eye. This is skull and this is orbit where eyes lie. So organs of sight are pair of lights lodged in eye sockets or orbit. These are eye socket or orbit. So eyes lodged in eye sockets or orbits of skull having cushion of fat for frictionless movement and protection from shock. So pair of eyes held and protected in the orbit of the skull. Now here are the parts of eye. Each eye is rounded and called eyeball. It is 2.5 cm in diameter, weight is about 7 gram, and it possesses an array of accessory structures that help in focusing objects present at varying distances and reflecting various wavelengths of light over the photoreceptor cells present on different parts of its eye. Now, first of all, in the parts of eye, eyebrow. Eyebrows are supraorbital arched eminences bearing obliquely projecting hair. They can be brought down to protect the eyeball from dust, sweating and rain. This is eyelid. Eyelid are a pair of movable skin folds supported by stiff fibrous connective tissue plates lined internally by conjunctiva. Eyelid lie above and below the eye and cover the same at intervals by coming together in the process of blinking, closing of eyes during sleep or rest. These are eyelash. Actually, eyelids bear stiff hair or eyelashes at the edges. They are lubricated by glands of Moll, glands of Gies and Meibomian glands. Glands of Moll are modified sweat glands that open in between the bases of eyelashes. Glands of Gies are sebaceous glands which open into follicles of eyelashes, and Meibomian or tarsal glands are modified sebaceous glands which open on the free margins of eyelids for lubricating them as well as covering cornea with oil for frictionless blinking, holding tears over cornea, catching dust particles and keeping away raindrops. This is protective coat. Actually, the inner surface of eyelids is lined by mucous membrane called palpebral conjunctiva. It is highly vascular and papillate. Eyelashes and blinking are protective against dust particles, flies, rain, germs, mechanical injury, etc. This is iris. It is an opaque, muscular, pigmented and perforated diaphragm having radial and circular smooth muscles which are operated by sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves respectively. The iris provides colors to eyes. It can be blue, grey, brown or black depending upon layers having pigment. And this is pupil. Pupil is a central perforation. Its size is controlled by radial and circular muscles and responds to dim and strong light respectively. This is pupil. So these are the main parts of eye. Now eye muscles. Actually each eye is held by eye muscles. This is the eye and this is held by these muscles. These are eye muscles. Eye muscle allows the eyeball to move up and down, left and right and in a circular way. 6 eye muscles, namely superior oblique, this is superior oblique, inferior oblique, superior rectus, inferior rectus, medial rectus and lateral rectus. These are eye muscles. Now internal structure of eye. First of all, in the internal structure of eye, the wall of eye is formed of 3 layers and these layers are outermost coat is called as fibrous coat or fibrous tuning. You can see Actually, it is the outermost covering of eyeball. The coat is made up of fibroelastic connective tissue containing collagen fibers. 5/6 of its opaque and bluish white, largely hidden, but a part present in front as white of eye. It is called sclera. This is this is the outermost coat of fibrous coat. The 5/6 of its opaque and bluish white part is called sclera. This is Sclera has blood vessels and provides attachment to eye muscles. The front part of the fibrous tunic is thicker, transparent, dome-shaped cornea. This is the front part of fibrous coat. Cornea is further bulged out in front region for focusing light rays on retina. This is retina. Retina is devoid of blood vessels. Cornea is nourished by aqueous humor and partly by lacrimal secretion. A circular canal of sclera lies at the junction between sclera and cornea. It drains out excess aqueous humor. Cornea and the exposed sclera is covered by transparent membranous covering called conjunctiva. This is conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is without papillae, or it is also less vascular. Conjunctiva provides protection and lubrication. Cornea admits light and helps in rough focusing. Next, the middle coat is the vascular coat, or you can also say it choroid or uvea. This is middle coat, choroid or uvea. It is a middle pigmented and vascular coat which is differentiated into three parts: choroid, ciliary body and iris. Choroid, ciliary body and iris. This is a part of vascular coat. First of all, choroid. It lines the sclera. Because of its pigmented nature, choroid prevents internal reflection. It provides nourishment and oxygen to the retina. Next part of middle coat is ciliary body. It is ring-shaped, thick muscular structure occurring at the junction of choroid and iris. Its epithelium secretes aqueous humor. Ciliary body possesses folds on the inner side. It has circular and meridianal ciliary muscles. Attached to ciliary body are firm but elastic band-shaped suspensory ligaments that are connected to equatorial region of lens. And iris, as already explained, it is an opaque, muscular, pigmented and perforated diaphragm having radial and circular smooth muscles which are operated by the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve respectively. It gives color to the eye. And the other one is retina. Retina or tunica nervosa. These are the blood vessels of retina. This is retina. It is delicate inner non-vascular light sensitive coat of the eyeball which is differentiated into three parts: optic, ciliary and iridial part. Ciliary and iridial parts are non-sensory and formed of a single layer of pigmented cells that line the ciliary body and iris respectively. Pars optica is part of retina that lines the choroid and terminates near the ciliary body somewhat irregularly as ora serratia. Ora serratia is sensory and differentiated into two parts: outer pigmented part and inner nervous part. The pigmented part is made up of cuboidal cells with dark brown granules and fringe-like protoplasmic processes. It continues beyond ora serratia. The inner nervous part is transparent and made up of three layers: outer photosensitive layer of visual or photoreceptor cells called rod and cones, middle layer of bipolar nerve cells, and inner layer of ganglion cells. This fibrous coat, the outer coat of the eyeball. It provides form and shape to the eyeball. Next, sclera. In fibrous coat comes sclera, anterior chamber, aqueous humor, cornea. In vascular coat, three regions comes. These are choroid, ciliary body, iris. You can see here the internal structure of eye. Here come iris. This is the ciliary part of the human body. It secretes aqueous humor.